When I first bought Access Denied for PlayStation 4 several years ago, it introduced me to the world of puzzle box games. And these are rotatable puzzle boxes that will have different things that you need to decrypt or decode so that you can then open up the box, get the treat inside and move on to the next one. This game has then since allowed me to go off and find loads of others in this subgenre, and I really recommend it. And now, after being released on PC last year, Access Denied Escape makes its way to consoles too, and this is the PS5 version you see on your screens. Access Denied Escape merges together that puzzle box vibe with an escape room setting. And what happens as you go through these 30 puzzle boxes trying to solve them is that as they get more difficult and convoluted, you'll need to then break out into the escape room to find various other tools that you'll need to then decode the puzzle boxes as they go. So at the beginning of the game, it will be very much around twisting knobs and sliding sliders and punching in codes as you try to solve maths equations or see parts of a map and then try and put them together or mirror image certain things so that it then gives you a number that you can then pipe into the code and then unlock the box, get the data inside it and move on. You'll then unlock a screwdriver, which allows you to unscrew panels to find hidden information behind them, but then some puzzles start to ask you to tighten screws or loosen screws, as if you're turning on and off circuits. And that's quite interesting because it feels a little bit more tactile and sometimes you have to be quite precise with that. Then you get batteries and you only have 3 of them, but puzzle boxes can quite often have like 6 or 8 battery places to slot them into. And often that will display part of a map or part of a design or a circuit or part of a puzzle or a code. And you're needing to slot the different batteries in together and memorize what's going on and then piece it all together so that you can then solve the puzzle box at the end. This leads me to my recommendation of having your camera phone near you so that you can take snapshots of different parts of visual design so that you can mentally put them together much easier. And I found that made the game much more enjoyable to play because I was having brain fart moments quite often. I also had a pen and paper nearby too because there's quite a lot of codes in this game, and later on, after you've done the batteries and the screwdriver, you unlock a slide deck. Oh, the joy. But that slide deck or floppy disk contains like numbers that relate to coloured pattern codes and like variations on that theme, and you keep on having to kind of flip between these decks to work out what the codes on the box mean so that you can then kind of go, oh, okay, now I have to do that, and that will unlock the next part of the puzzle as you move around. The last thing that you also get is a visualizer, and so some boxes will come through looking completely blank and you'll need to look at the kind of visualizer, which is like a sonic 3D version, like an infrared or a night scope version of the puzzle box, and it will show you the details that you can't see with the naked eye, and so that will then relate to the code, and then you might need to put in the right code that then unlocks a screwdriver panel that will have a battery behind it. And that's kind of how this game layers and layers and layers over time. And I blasted through the first half of this game really quickly, whilst the second half of the game was much more intricate because it's using all of these different tools to elongate out the complexity of each puzzle box. There is a progressive hint system that gives you 3 hints per puzzle box, but still doesn't solve it for you. And I really like that approach because it still means that you are physically solving something, even if it's giving you a nudge in the right direction. The same can't be said for the escape room sections, which are very small in comparison. This is definitely 80 to 85% puzzle box, 15% escape room. But when you go and try the hints out on the escape room sections, it actually gives you the answers. So I was like, oh, whoops, never mind. However, I wish that there was more of this escape room side of the game because it feels underutilized for what this game provides. I came across 2 issues with this game during playing, and they're both related to controls. Firstly, because you're using a controller, not a mouse. Some of the twiddly knobs are a little bit fiddly to get into the right place. But secondly, the control scheme tells you that sometimes you need to press X on the PlayStation 5 version to do something, but you don't at all. It's square, but the game UI is wrong. So just when you get to that point, I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Press square, you'll be fine. And hopefully that'll be patched in a future update. Whilst Access Denied Escape certainly doesn't hit the grand heights of the Doors and the Boxes series, that are some of my pinnacle and favourites of the puzzle box genre, or the diorama puzzle genre, Access Denied Escape is at a budget price, and it's short and succinct, that gives you 2 hours of really focused puzzling. And so for what it does and the price point that it's at, actually this is still a good recommend for me. And whilst it won't absolutely make your brain melt, and I was able to get through almost all of the puzzles without having to think of hints or anything like that whatsoever, it made me feel quite brainy, and I had a nice warm glow inside. So, cheap, cheerful, good fun, easy platinum, what's not to love? Access Denied Escape, out today. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/Higher Plane Network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.